All right, we talking about sports, episode 30. It's a live edition. It's me and Roland for the day. Roland, we
All
didn't see
right.
you last week. I know you had a little vacation, little hiatus, but I gotta
Yeah,
ask you, man. How was your Christmas? How was your New Year's?
it was good, man. Honestly, I got a few presents. It wasn't cold like I was expecting, but no, I promise. I've been good. Just kidding. But yeah, it was good, man. I got to spend some time with my family. I went down to the valley after New Year's for a few days, and then I was back up here working. I had actually got some time off from work, like from the 24th to the 4th. I was off, so got some good time to relax and stuff, and just watch some sports. I'm ready to be back here talking about. Everything that we have lined up. But yeah, it's been a little while, man. It's been a little while. Glad to be back though.
Yeah, glad to have you back. And as we talked about last week, it was an action-packed football experience. We had
Mhm.
the NFL playoffs, but more than importantly, we crowned a champion, college football champion, and it was Ohio State number 3 versus number 1 Alabama. And I just got to tell you right now, Alabama ran away with it big
Yeah,
time.
it
Did
was,
you watch the game?
yeah, I did watch the game, and quite frankly, it was done by halftime. Devonta Smith, he had a full game by halftime. Honestly, he had some guys like 3 games or 4 games because he went for 12, 215 in the first half, I think, or 11 catches. I'm not sure, but yeah, Ohio State was just outmanned. It was just one of those days where you could tell the superior team was Alabama, and it really wasn't even close. I mean, they really had no answer for Devonta Smith. I think on that last play that he scored the touchdown on before the end of the first half, they had the linebacker of the year, I forget, the Bednark Award winner, trying to play him man to man, and that's not even fair. So yeah, hats off to Ohio State, even though they lost. They made it pretty competitive in the beginning, but Alabama was just way too
Yeah.
much.
Here's some stats. Mac Jones, 36 for 45, 464 yards passing with 5 touchdowns. Devontae Smith had 12 receptions, 215 yards. Man, Sarkeesian was getting these guys open like you wouldn't believe, getting them into space where
Yeah.
players can make plays. And when you got supreme athletes like Devontae Smith, those guys, you get them some space, they're gonna make the play.
Yeah, Devonta Smith, and then Jalen Waddle came back for that game a little bit too. I mean, it was a little rough watching him out there. You could tell that he wasn't right, but he tried his best to make it. It was a game time decision, but he ended up getting out on the field, and hats off to him. But it was a little dangerous for me, or I got a little scared, excuse me, watching him because he was limping off the field, and you just didn't want anything bad to happen because he does have an NFL future. A lot of people thought that Jalen Waddle, before Devonta Smith took off, was maybe the superior receiver. You can't really tell now because Devonta Smith, I mean, he obviously blew up and he won the Heisman, rightfully so. He was the best player in college football, and he showed it on that field. He was the best player, and it wasn't even close. Last Monday night, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of Sunday players coming out of that game, though. Maybe two.
Just to speak on the Jalen Waddle, I don't know if you saw, but there was a lot of criticism from NFL players towards Saban and Waddle playing, even just shooting up because
Yeah,
of the way he was hobbling out there.
I saw Des Bryant tweeting that he shouldn't be out there. I think Patrick Mahomes also tweeted that he shouldn't be out there, and I have to agree with those guys because I don't know. And maybe this is on me because I don't know if they even show the pregame warmups, but I don't know how good he could have looked in pregame that would make the coaches think that he was good enough to go out there and perform at 100%. But then again, you have to also think, at least from the kids' perspective, and I'm saying I'm probably a couple of years older than them, but yeah, from Waddle's perspective, I mean, it's the national championship, and it's probably his game to go out there and play because he's probably going to move on to the next level next year, and he wants to say that he was on the field for the national championship, and that's why I say hats off to him for getting himself to at least be good enough to take the field. But yeah, I guess I don't know. I just find it very, very hard to tell that kid no, you can't play. I get the criticism because it is. I just got finished saying that I was scared watching him play out there, but I have a hard time imagining Nick Saban saying no to that kid, not, in terms of going out there and playing, but you kind of have to look out for the kid's best interest at the end of the day. So yeah, I hate to be in the middle, but it's a little it's tough in that situation. I don't know. Where do you lean on that, Justin? I know you brought up the topic.
I'm not going to criticize Nick Saban. I think if the kid's got heart, he wants to come out, he wants to play. You got to give him a down or two to see what he can do. Once he saw that he was hobbling, they took him off the field, and that was the wrap for him for the rest of the night. I think that's the right thing. I'm okay with it.
But what a finish to a crazy year. This is a college football season that was affected by COVID. There's a lot of teams just like the NFL that didn't really have a preseason. There's teams figuring it out on the go on a weekly basis. There's teams that were scheduling games against each other in midweek. Didn't that BYU and Coastal Carolina game just come up just out of nowhere?
On the fly.
Yeah, on the fly. Teams were doing that. It's an unprecedented season. So hats off to college football for pulling it off. But, Ohio State, the one thing I will say, I think they deserve to be there because they showed that they beat Clemson. So I know there's a lot of talk about them, only playing 5 games or 6 games up to that point and getting into the Final Four. And I think they proved their worth when they beat Clemson. And I think Justin Fields, I'll finish off my talk on Ohio State. I like Justin Fields in the NFL. I think he's going to be potentially a franchise quarterback.
I think he showed it during that Clemson game that he can make the big throw, make a lot of different throws too. And,
if he uses his legs, I mean, is it fair to say or fair to compare him? I know this might be lazy, but to Cam Newton, do you think he's a more refined version of Cam Newton? Because I think they kind of have the same body frame. I know he runs a lot too. Justin Fields, excuse me, he uses his legs a lot in terms of being an offensive threat. So yeah, I think that's a fair comparison. But I don't know. I just wonder what you think.
I think that as of right now, he's a more refined passer than Cam Newton is coming out of the college ranks. He does tend to pass the ball more, but his legs are there for him to use if he needs it. He doesn't always use it, only when he needs to absolutely extend the play. So I do like him better as a passer, and he can be developed and a lot better than Cam could, I think. Cam's a bigger body, 6'5", and
how tall is Justin Fields? Is he 6'4"?
6'3".
6'3", 6'4", okay. Do you still have Trevor Lawrence as your outright number 1 quarterback?
Of course, yeah.
I saw some people bring up that talk.
It's hard not to think about Mac Jones now. The way he played, the way that season went for him.
You have to give Mac Jones a little bit of a look, honestly, because I heard the next name up was Zach Wilson out of BYU. Yeah. I mean, I don't see why there's any reason why Mac Jones can't get a look. I mean, he's proved that he can put the ball in some tight places. So you don't put up numbers like that and not be good, But then again, he plays on a stacked team. He plays on a stacked team with Alabama. So, and that brings up another question before, we get more into the draft a little bit. But do you think Nick Saban, is he the GOAT now with this victory, or was he already the GOAT in your opinion?
I think he was already the GOAT, but this definitely solidifies him as the absolute college GOAT.
College GOAT, right? GOAT. Like, you don't want to call him the greatest outright coach of all time, right?
He's just the greatest outright.
Yeah, because the arguments that I was seeing a lot on the internet this week was, he plays with a stacked card. I mean, he gets to go and pick the best players, from state to state. But then again, the only thing that I will say to that, and that's why he's the greatest college coach of all time, is that's the game. I mean, you got to go out there and get them. I mean, that's the name of the game. You got to go out there and get the best players, and he consistently does. So,
and you know what, Roland, getting the best players is hard because he's done it generationally. 10 years ago, the athletes of then, they're not interested in the things the athletes of now are interested in. These athletes of now are millennials. It's a whole different ballgame with the way you talk to these kids. I mean, they're texters now. Back then, the recruits, it's just a different recruiting style is what I'm trying to say. And for him to do it generationally, that proves he is the college recruiting GOAT as well. Because you talk to a younger kid nowadays and you're like, man, this kid was nothing like me when I was in high school. and he's able to recruit through all those levels, all those
Exactly.
years. That's mind blowing for me as far as recruiting goes.
So one more question on Alabama, and it won't be about. Well, actually, it is about the greatest of all time. Do you think this is the best Bama team of all time under the
This
Saban era?
Bama offense, there's that 2012 defense over there that still haunts me.
No, for sure, for sure. What was the guy who knocked out Colt McCoy? Because you brought that
Marcel
up.
Darius,
Marcel Darius. There you go, Marcel Darius.
keep
Man,
them.
that guy was a truck. That guy was a truck in college for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, but for me, that's probably the best Bama offense of all time. Because also Najee Harris.
yeah, bro.
Do you think he's going to have an NFL career? Do you like him in the next in the
Yes,
ranks?
man. He's physical. I liked what they told him this year is, stop trying to do all the juke moves. Be the physical guy that you are. And man, he is physical. And then he has that elusiveness.
Mhm.
He's a special talent, man.
Did you
Josh, I
see?
know you're a big time Bama fan. Tell me your
Yeah.
best Bama team.
While we wait for Josh to respond, did you see that interview with Najee Harris after the game when they asked him how they made it look so effortlessly? And then he just came out and said, "Hey, man, they were blasting me on every play. What are you talking about? Like,
That was
this is not
sus, bro.
effortlessly."
That was a little sus. Did you hear how he was saying it?
Yeah, but still, man, it was a good answer. I like Najee Harris after that.
Yeah, he's a good kid, man. He's going to be special in the NFL, I think. These Bama backs, I know we were a little disrespectful to Bama earlier in the last year when we were naming Georgia running back university. We didn't really consider
Oh yeah,
Alabama.
Alabama, Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry,
Yeah,
Najee Harris, maybe. Who am I? Kenyon Drake is out there from
a lot of
Bama.
guys, bro.
Yeah.
And who's going to replace Najee, though? I don't know, that Brian Robinson, I don't think he's that great compared to
I'm
Najee.
excited to see the next quarterback after Mac Jones.
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young, yep. Bryce
I'd
Young
start
is
coming out
undefeated.
this year.
Well, I don't even know who's playing for the Rockets tonight, and they're up 6 on the Spurs right now.
Chemistry's got to be at an all-time high now. Anyway, so let's talk about this because after the national championship, everybody was talking Devontae Smith MVP, but there's a kid out in Baton Rouge named Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase, he came out and he sat out this year, right? Because of COVID, he decided to not play.
And he balled last year. We all saw him, and he was probably the better receiver on last year's national football championship team with LSU.
He put up 20 touchdowns and 1,800 yards pretty much. He finished with 1,780. So, yeah, Jamar Chase, I think he's a full package at that position. I think he's a little bit bigger than Devonta Smith. Not that that's going to end up making them better or not, but I like his body going into the NFL a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more NFL ready. And it's a little
6'1",
bit more
200.
leaves him to be a little bit more all around of a receiver. But yeah, he put up the numbers last year. He decided to sit out this year. People are kind of forgetting about him a little bit, but he's also a year and a half younger than Devonta Smith. So I don't know, that is going to play a factor in NFL GM's minds. But a lot of talk right now, though, is Devonta Smith won the Heisman. He's a top 3 draft pick potentially. That's what I've been hearing. I mean, do you think a team like the Jets, so they decide to keep Sam Darnold, do you think they'll end up taking a guy like Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith in that spot? I mean, I think that begs that question needs to be asked of what receiver is going to go in the top 5 or top 3, because I think there's some teams that need them.
If the Jets don't take Penei Sewell from Oregon, they're probably going to take Devontae.
And that's the other thing
and
you
if
want to bring
Devontae doesn't fall to the Jets, Tua needs a receiver at that point, and then you got to think it's going to be Jamar Chase or Devontae for that third spot.
That's what they were saying, that Devonta Smith should just go ahead and stay in Miami and just run routes with Tua for the rest of the offseason. Get ready for the draft.
Possibility there. I mean, so let me just put your draft hat on, Roland.
For sure.
And you're up next, and you got Jamar and you got Devontae. Who are you taking?
Man, I'm in love with the speed nowadays, and I like Devonta Smith. I think he proved himself this year. He's an all-around route runner. He's got the burners, and that's what I like in a receiver nowadays. I mean, Tyreek Hill, I'm enamored with what he does on a weekly basis for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know he has Patrick Mahomes, and he's probably the only guy that can outthrow Tyreek Hill in the NFL, and that's just an amazing connection. And like I said, that's probably why I'm leaning towards Devonta Smith. I was really high on Henry Ruggs. I think he had some high moments this year. Maybe he's going to prove himself a little bit more next year. But yeah, that's just where I'm going. I like Devonta Smith a lot, and you can't go wrong drafting an Alabama receiver.
Yes,
It's,
especially these last 4 years. I'm a little more higher on Jamar Chase at the moment just because of his size. But if Devontae falls to me, just don't get me wrong, I'm gonna be super happy and take that kid. But yeah, we seen what Justin Jefferson did, and I think Jamar was better than Jefferson. So I think either way, you're got to get a pick between the two. Again, it just depends on who's the team and what their need is. If I'm Miami, I'm thinking let me guard Tua and get Sewell myself. But if not, let's get him a weapon.
That crazy Miami, they went 10-6 this year.
And they get the third pick.
And they get the third pick. Thank you, Houston Texans. Got to say that. Wait, I don't hear anything.
There's a reason why I know. We had a question why Ben wasn't here earlier. He said he's traveling, but
he's traveling.
I did get a text from him earlier yesterday when I asked him if he was ready to pod, and he jokingly said, I'm not ready for the world to hear what I have to say, or something along those lines. I don't know. He says
it's a tough time to be a Houston sports fan, and on all accounts. I mean, I like the Astros. I grew up an Astros fan, so it's pretty rough for the Astros right now. I think in terms of free agency, there's a lot of things going on. George Springer might not be there, and then if you look at the Rockets and the Texans, it's pretty bad situations on all hands. I mean, you had Andre Johnson tweeting that, Deshaun Watson needs to do whatever he can to not let the franchise waste him. So I don't know.
Josh wants to know who's the better wide receiver their first year, Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb? CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb. But Jerry Jeudy, he did have some high moments too. I mean, I think he has a bright future as well. It just all depends on the quarterback play for, both guys really this year. But I like CeeDee Lamb to have a pretty good year next year if Dak Prescott comes back and stays healthy for the whole year. I think that could be a deadly combination.
I think Ruggs and Jeudy suffered just by their quarterbacks this year is what happened. Jefferson had a decent quarterback in Cousins, and look what he did.
Ruggs caught that game-winning touchdown, didn't he, against the Jets? That Hail Mary? Yeah. Was that him?
Yep. That was the Jets' chance to win. They blew it, and they ended up winning after that and messed up their pick. Yeah, Justin Jefferson definitely had the better rookie of the year.
Offensive rookie of the year, right? In the NFC.
I don't know if he's already got named, but he's definitely going to be.
Yeah, for sure. He's a NFC rookie of the year. He had more catches than Randy Moss in his rookie year. I think that's as good as it gets.
That stat alone is good enough for me to crown him there.
Out of all those guys next year, do you think this is it's kind of hard to say the new guard, because there's new receivers coming in every year. Like receivers it's my favorite position in the NFL because they're just so talented, but there's a lot of receivers coming out every year. It's ridiculous.
What's the question? No, Roland, you got a question?
No, I don't have a question. I'm sorry. I was just finishing off the thought.
Okay. Well, Josh says the best Alabama team is 2016 Alabama that beat Deshaun Watson in the Natty. Man, those Clemson-Bama games were wars. I think Bama had 2-1 on Clemson as far as national championships go. But
the Clemson victory, though, that's probably one of the greatest games that I remember watching, the one where he caught Hunter Renfrow on that out route for the game winner.
For the big play?
Yeah.
Dude, it was awesome. All right. Yeah, says, who has a better year next year, Herbert or Tua?
Herbert. I think he's in a better offensive situation right now, and he's going to have Austin Eckler for a full year next year, which should help him a lot in the pass game. And yeah, I just like what I've seen from him a little bit more than Tua.
I'm gonna go with Herbert. There's a lot of rumblings already in the locker room saying that they don't even like Tua as far as the player locker room goes. I know Flores came out today and said Tua is our guy. So
I
it
saw
does look
that.
like they're going to be moving forward with something to help him. But it seems like Herbert is ready to go as far as even this year, the way he played. I mean, they had a streak towards the end. I think it was like 5 games in a row that they won. So
Hmm. Just a weird situation, when you bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick on multiple occasions to pull him out of a bad situation.
I
And
heard that that
but
was terrible.
and the thing is too, though, like you can't completely knock Tua on this, and you can't knock a lot of rookie quarterbacks this year because there was no preseason. There was no mini camps or anything like that. There's no a time for them to install the game plan and get used to the NFL speed in a practice situation and take real practice reps. I mean, that's why Justin Herbert, what he did this year is pretty
He's,
ridiculous if you think about it, because no preseason, no nothing. He just came out by a freak accident, really. Tyrod Taylor, I felt really bad for because he's going to get another starting opportunity, at least for a few games. And then that whole thing with the doctor knocks him out, and the rest is history. Justin Herbert.
Roland, I got to ask you, whatever manifested of that lung puncture?
I don't know. I know they did an investigation, but I don't know what the end result is. I just know that Tyrod Taylor never saw the field again.
I
I
wonder if
think
he's
they
going to
were
own the
looking
team
into
soon. I
it.
mean, that's
Well, the
ridiculous.
NFLPA probably is going to look into it because, I mean, that's damaging to the career because who knows? I mean, maybe Tyrod Taylor plays good for a few games and, they end up going to what's his name? Justin Herbert anyways, kind of like the Tua situation and Ryan Fitzpatrick. If he plays good those first couple of games, who knows? Maybe he sets himself up for a job next year. I don't know, but you can make that argument that cost him some dollars right there. It for sure
That
cost him.
cost him his health and his life with Corona going on.
Yeah.
Being one lung short, just
That's true.
it's
That's
crazy.
true. I mean, it's just a freak
I'm thinking
injury.
his dollars for him is what I'm saying at the moment.
Bizarre, completely bizarre situation, though.
Well, that's it for college football. Let's get it moving towards the NBA. And speaking of Corona, man, it is running rampant in the NBA. More and more games are having to be canceled or postponed. We saw the Sixers the other day have to play with 6 players. There was a joke saying Dwight Howard had to step in at point guard for a moment there. What
That
do you
game
think
should
the
have
NBA
been.
should do?
I heard that they were thinking about taking a 2-week hiatus, which I don't know how that completely works into the schedule because I know that it was already on a tight window because of the Olympics, I think, that's coming up that they want to have the players ready for. That's why they're only playing 72 games in the first place. But the players don't seem to want to stop. They just got to fix their protocols. Like, I know they already started getting a little bit more strict, so they're going to be in even more of a traveling bubble. They really can't leave the hotels when they're traveling now. But it's just a crapshoot right now of a season. You got different guys getting going out with the coronavirus every week. Like you said, games getting canceled. But the weird situation to me is the whole pregame testing. Like, you would think they would take a test and get results back before the game. But I heard that I think it was with that Sixers game. I don't know if it was the Wizards against the Sixers. I don't know, but one team tested they found out they had a positive test after the game from a pregame test. So that already doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you're going in not knowing of these guys or having, I don't know how long the window is between the last negative result and going to the game, but you would have to think it would be right before game time, the same day or something like that at least, and get the results back. Because I don't know how they were doing it in the bubble, but that sounds pretty dumb to me. You take a test and then you play the game and then you find out after who was sick.
Yeah,
Doesn't make
that
sense.
doesn't make any sense at all. Just the way you're saying that. You would think that would have been fixed. After what they learned in the bubble, you think they would have came and said, "Hey, we're going to fix this and not do it like this." The NFL has been successful so far as Corona goes. You think they would have learned some of those protocols and taken them over to the NBA? And the NFL has to deal with 53 players on a roster.
That's
The NBA is
crazy.
dealing with 15.
And that's crazy because we were really bad mouthing, or at least I know I was bad mouthing the NFL with their whole protocol thing, or being so lackluster with their protocols in the beginning, or not really having any plans. Remember, everybody was talking about how they were back and forth on their plans. They really didn't have anything going into the season, and how could they be like this? They're the last team to go. They had the chance to watch everybody else, and they're still waffling at this. Like, how could this be? And yada yada. But they've actually done a pretty good job. I know there's a little 2 or 3 week period where it got a little hasty, where I think the Titans were affected pretty badly in like weeks 1 through 3 or something like that. I know Derrick Henry fantasy owners weren't happy about that, not being able to play the first 2 weeks. But that affected the Steelers also. I know they played a ridiculous amount of games, and like, I think it was like 3 games in 24 days. I don't know if it was something like that. That sounds pretty normal, but I know they were under a stress situation in terms of the amount of games that they played due to the coronavirus. So but needless to say, they got it done. And it kind of got a little weird with the Browns lately, though, because I know the receivers were out week 17, or was it week 16? Their whole receiving corps went down with it. I don't know. They all got coronavirus, but I know one of them did. And Stefanski came down with it, and they still beat the Steelers. They beat them down too. It was pretty bad.
Which we'll be talking about a little later once we have our guest.
It was a surprise to me because of the whole coronavirus thing. But yeah, the NBA, it's getting a little hasty right now. There you go, Wally. Thank you. 3 games in 17 days.
Wally's part of the Steeler Nation.
Thank you. So yeah, you had stuff like that going on very early on, and the NFL found a way to make it work. So hopefully the NBA has the same fate, because we're only 10 to 12 games in or something like that. So hopefully they get it fixed.
Yeah, I expect them to get it fixed, especially with the Olympics coming up. I love to see the Dream Team out there, and I would hate for them not to be out there because of that.
No, for sure. Hopefully they get it done before the Olympics. But the players don't seem to want to stop.
Maybe they'll have to move back into a bubble situation again.
Maybe they do that towards the end of the season, like maybe finish it like they did the last 8 or something like that, just to be safe and make sure that, all the top teams, whoever gets invited to that last bubble or whatever, they all have their players ready to go. Because again, you don't want a situation where you get a team without their best player in the playoffs for the coronavirus. I mean, injury through gameplay is a different thing, but this COVID thing, people were making fun of the Nets. I know we'll get into it a little bit more, but people are making fun of them, calling this an asterisk season and them giving up everything for this trade. And you have NBA GMs talking like that. Hopefully they get it fixed.
Mondo says just send the Lakers to the Olympics. Might as well. So last thing I want to say was Kuzma came out. I don't know if you heard the Kuzma quote, and he said the reason why the Lakers haven't had any corona issues is because they have such a high incentive to win the championship again, so that they're not out there following
the rules.
Yeah,
which again, and that makes a lot of sense too. Like, if they're doing everything to the protocol, I mean, you shouldn't get sick if you're managing that correctly in terms of who you're seeing. Because I know Durant was out for a few days because somebody near him tested positive. Somebody in his inner circle got sick.
One of those trace.
Yeah, the tracing things. That's what knocked out all of the Philadelphia 76ers, because there's a couple of guys sitting at the table with Seth Curry when they found out that he was sick. So 4 guys are out just like that. So yeah, you just don't want that to happen though in the playoffs, because then that's when you really start talking about an asterisk season.
Yeah, maybe the NBA should implement a G League bonus where you have a few more players on the active roster, more than the 15 or 18 that they carry.
Yeah, but I just want to get back to the whole incentive thing, because I want to bring up another topic off of that. It's like still in the same category, but Kyrie Irving, what is he doing right now? You're talking about the incentive to win a championship. A lot of people, questioning him going into this year and whatnot, and where his head was to begin with. And I'm a Kyrie fan. I like Kyrie as a player. But some of the actions that he's had in terms of the way he's talked about the media, acting like he's above them and calling them peons and whatnot. I know Stephen A has been mad about that lately, but his actions this season and leading me to what I'm saying is he went to a party, I guess, a couple of weeks ago or a few days ago, excuse me, and he's been
Sister's
out.
party.
Yeah, he went to his sister's party. I mean, you really can't blame him for going to his sister's birthday party. I get that, but man, you get paid millions and millions of dollars. You have these protocols. You're on a championship level team already. You and KD and the depth that they had with Karis LeVert, Jarrett Allen, all of those guys. You guys have a real opportunity to win a championship, and you're doing this.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it from any angle. I really don't understand.
Do you remember last year, AC Alex Caruso skipped his sister's wedding to remain in the bubble to avoid any protocol?
I'm glad you brought that up because, if, as a Kyrie apologist or a guy that likes Kyrie, I'd be like, can you really blame him for going to his sister's party? But you just bring up that example right there. I mean, that's a level of dedication that you need if you want to win a championship. You got to be all in like that. You have to be all in like Alex Caruso, the grit guy.
Mark says he sat out to what happened at the Capitol. He might have initially sat out to that, but the problem is he did show up at that party without a mask. And I know his mom or his dad was there. I don't think his dad's mom.
It was his dad's birthday too.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's just a bad look when you're in the middle of the season. Everyone, your coaches, they can't say anything about you. They've been quiet about you because they don't want to ruffle your feathers. You've texted your teammates you're not going to be there. It's just a weird look, man. It's like he's just doing what he wants to do. And I'm not trying to poke at mental health or anything, but I said it earlier when he was saging the court. You remember when he was doing that? I said, this is like heading somewhere. It's a weird look. And then I talked about the chemistry issues I saw with Kevin Durant earlier. I don't know if you saw it. Someone passed him the ball. It was a little late. He just slapped the ball out of the air. Like, didn't take the pass. He was just pissed. Like, and I was like, this team doesn't have the chemistry right now. They just don't. And I don't know if that's part of the problem for Kyrie and why he's been out. But I just think it's a bigger issue as far as what's being sold by the Nets at the moment.
Yeah, and Kyrie, though, I will say, I feel like he has been trending towards this direction in a little while. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you're saying in terms of the whole saging thing, you felt like it was leading towards something. I feel like he's been on this trajectory since he broke up with LeBron, since he left Cleveland and went to Boston. Everybody likes to bring up
artist.
Well, I mean, I get that a little bit. Basketball's an art. Basketball's an art.
It's an art, but you're a player. You're a
I think where Kyrie crosses people the wrong way is he comes off with this whole, like, I'm above you, like I'm thinking at a different level than everybody else. Like, that's where that whole artist thing comes in, and it crosses people the wrong way a lot of the time, and it's hard. You can't even defend that. It's a little weird, to be honest. The way that he talks sometimes, like, he doesn't really make sense. He talks in circles a lot, but Kyrie, though, he's a guy that's going to do what he wants. And if he, like, Mark brought up the whole Capitol thing, if he's really bothered about something like that, he's going to make it known. And he might not be the best at communicating right now. And that's just a crazy thing because he makes $33 million a year. Yeah. You got to come out and say something. Like, it's a little crazy. Richard Jefferson brought up a good point. He's like, we're going to support Kyrie no matter what he wants to do. But you just have to communicate and be transparent about it. Like, you just can't, like, they're laughing in the comments right now about him falling off the earth. You can't do stuff like that. You have an obligation. You have a contract. People are counting on you to go out there. KD is counting on you to be his teammate and to go out there and help him win a championship. You can't let guys like that down. You have to at least say what you're doing.
Well, let's not get too much further into it. Let's talk about it. The James Harden trade. I think everybody was asking about it earlier. It's official. The Nets have acquired Harden. It's something that we have been talking about in the podcast for weeks now. I know Ben was avoiding it a little bit. He, didn't think that Harden would be moving just because they did have him under contract, and he didn't think they would be able to. He would be able to strong arm the organization, but after the Laker game, Harden made some comments, and you could tell Wall and the Cousins were completely on a different page as well. And the trade's official now. What do you think about this trade, Roland?
It's a crazy situation, man. He did everything that he could. He literally did everything that he could for the city. It couldn't be fixed, man. It just couldn't be fixed, you know. It's just one of those things. No, I don't know. James Harden clearly wanted out from the beginning of the season. You know, he showed that he wanted no parts of this team. You know, but he made his intentions clear by not showing up day one of training camp. You know, you don't do that when you're the MVP without a legitimate excuse. And his excuse really wasn't even, he was just partying. Really, he didn't have a true excuse. And that's because, again, I like James Harden. I think he's a good basketball player. I like watching him play. Unlike a lot of people, I think he's really, really good at what he does. So just a little surprising to me, but I thought he was going to want to play with John Wall. I thought that might have worked a little bit. John Wall looked like he was good. And you have to at least give it a little bit of a chance, man. A little bit of a chance. I see where John Wall's coming from and saying, like, how can you be checked out 9 games? How are you gonna, want to jump off a cliff 9 games in and not want to play with us? Like, we have a decent squad. You make our squad a playoff team because you're that good, James Harden. You know, this is what you want. You're one of the best players in the NBA. But on the flip side, if James Harden is truly, truly, truly trying to win a championship and he wanted to get with KD, then let's see what he does in Houston. I'm not going to kill him. I'm not going to kill him over wanting to get out of Houston. You know, I just think the whole Houston situation is a little crazy altogether just because of, James Harden has had multiple guys with him, along the way. He brought over Dwight Howard. Things didn't work. I mean, you can argue whether or not that team's good enough to win a championship with just him and Dwight Howard, but that didn't work. Chris Paul, they were right on the brink of beating the Warriors. I think a lot of Rockets fans thought that was their best chance at unseating that dynasty that was running with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond, and then when they ended up having KD at the end of that run, that was their best chance when they had Chris Paul. He goes down, and then he's out. I don't know what happened between him and James Harden, but, a lot of people are saying that what if James Harden's the problem? He's the common denominator. Can you win a championship with James Harden? I think he can make it work with KD. They've shown early on in their careers that they were good enough to get to an NBA championship. They've already proven that they're all NBA players. Why can't they do it now? So I like that team. They give up a lot of depth. I don't like that they gave up Jared Allen. I'm not a big DeAndre Jordan fan. And I don't like that they gave up Karis LeVert, but they had to do it, and they gave up like all of their picks for the rest of the decade. I don't know how long or when their next first-round pick is, but I know it's not for a little while. But we have somebody that just joined us, and I like his shirt.
Nice shirt.
Like his shirt. The Spurs just went on a commercial break right now, or at least on my TV they did. I'm streaming on YouTube TV. But Fonz, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys? Appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What is your take on the whole James Harden fiasco? I know you've been on Twitter.
I've seen his Twitter takes, and they've been pretty strong. I want to hear him on here now.
Can you win a championship with James Harden?
Can you win a championship with who?
With James Harden on your team?
Well, it depends who's on the team with James Harden, honestly, because as James Harden as your number one option, obviously has been proven throughout his career, it's not. I think when he was back in OKC with KD, that was their best chance if OKC was able to keep James Harden. If honestly, without a doubt, I believe if they were to keep those 3 superstars, they would have won a championship eventually, right? But they didn't want to pay James Harden his money at that time. They thought his asking price was too steep. They let him go to the Rockets. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, he balled out. I mean, he is honestly a generational type player. I mean, his offensive skill set is almost unmatched. There's very few players that can produce the way that he has. In my mind, we can look back at Carmelo. Like Carmelo was just offensively, I mean, he was a sniper, right?
Beast, yeah.
And then and that's what we considered him. We were like, man, like Carmelo offensively, he just can't be stopped.
Walking bucket.
High offensive output, right? And then KD came in the game, and right off the back, his rookie year from the Sonics, I can't remember. I know he was averaging 20 plus points, but as a rookie, he was 18 years old. He couldn't even bench 135 pounds, and he's averaging 20 plus points in the game as a rookie. And then so then KD kind of took the reign as far as like the highest offensive output of any player in the league,
For
just
sure.
strictly offensively, right? Of course,
7 foot and you move like that.
Exactly, and KD added to his game, as he got stronger, as he got bigger. He became a more where he was able to produce defensively, right? Especially in Golden State. I mean, he became exactly now. And then as we transition toward the prime of KD, then when James Harden went to the Rockets, then his offensive game started shooting up, and of course, now mind you, we can talk about how James Harden gets his points, right? Because James Harden started getting it by swiping with his hand. I mean, KD was doing the same thing, exactly. But James Harden also takes 3 or 5 steps before backwards to make a shot that we can call a travel either. But
everybody does it now, though. Everybody does it now.
Everybody does it.
But that's not here or there, right? But he still produces high, right?
For sure, yeah, 30 points a game.
Exactly. Now, but the thing is, when it comes down to clutch time, when he's in the playoffs, he folds every single time. I mean, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, was it Golden State? Like the first time they ran into Golden State, he looked like Mike Tyson when he got knocked down by Buster Douglas, looking for his mouthpiece. Hey. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Yeah,
but that kind of defined James Harden run. I mean, that was from the beginning. I mean, every time we talk about a player, whether it's NFL or basketball, we always talk about can they go over the hump, right? I mean, for the majority of talk shows, they were talking about Lamar Jackson last week, saying, can he win his first playoff game because he's come up short the last 2 times, and of course last year he was the reigning MVP and he wasn't able to beat the Titans, right? So of course that dominated sports radio talk for the Ravens. I know we're I'm making tangents into the NFL.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
But that's how it is when we talk about, these all, we're looking at these great players and we want to see, how do they overcome adversity, right? And James Harden has never been that type of player. He's great offensive output. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, but he cannot carry his team to the next level.
Yeah,
right.
The game that did it for me was Game 6 against the Spurs, where he didn't shoot the ball until the second quarter. I think he didn't take a shot until the second quarter. But yeah, go ahead, Fonz. I just wanted to say, yeah.
So I mean, all I'm saying is that we've seen that he cannot be the number one guy and take them to the finals. To win a championship, he can't be. Now that he's going to the Nets, it's interesting, right? Now, granted, just like you mentioned, Roland, I thought, giving up Jared Allen, their best defensive player. I mean, you need to have defense when you go into the playoffs. You can be great all you want, throughout the season, but when it comes to the playoffs, we always talk about defense. In the NBA, it's defense. In the NFL, it's the run game, right? So, when they gave up Jared Allen, who I love Jared Allen. He's a phenomenal shot blocker, and he's from Texas. I mean, I have a little bias there, right? But they gave him away, and mind you, just to quickly put this in, I don't know what the hell the Cavs are doing. I feel like every single time they're trading, they always over. You know what I mean?
Kevin Love, Drummond, Jared Allen.
And they had Tristan Thompson, but they gave away Tristan Thompson, but they gave him away already. But I never know what the hell they're doing. You know what I mean? But I digress. We come back to the NBA. Now James Harden going to the Nets as a second option, right? With KD, I think they could potentially go over that hump, right? Because look, now mind you, here's my.
It is championship or bust, whether or not they do it. It is championship or bust.
That's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. KD jumped onto the Warriors bandwagon, right? So KD is a 2-time champion, right? And he's a 2-time Finals MVP, right? Cool. Yeah. But I've never really given credit for that. You know what I mean? I mean, I think that he jumped onto a 73-win team, and he won 2 out of 3, right? Cool.
So do you think without KD though, do you think those teams win?
I think they win at least one, like one more.
Okay, because I give KD credit. I didn't at first.
I mean, look. I'm gonna give him credit for basically guaranteeing that they go to the NBA Finals for 3 straight years. You know what I mean? Like having him on the team, just guaranteed. We knew it. Like we were just like, can LeBron somehow?
Yeah, can LeBron do it?
Yeah, exactly. But you know, if KD hadn't gone, I think the Warriors were still from those 3 years. I think they would have won at least one. They would have came back. They would have fought against LeBron. For sure. Probably would have won one. They would have probably won one, and then it would have gone back and forth. But with KD there, he essentially guaranteed that boom, they were going to go to. They were guaranteed to go to the finals, and they would have won that last one had it not been for KD getting hurt and Klay Thompson getting hurt. Honestly, that's just that's just the way it is. But anyway, coming back to James Harden going to the Brooklyn Nets, I think it's possible because he's obviously the second to KD, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, he has to be. KD's a centerpiece.
On top of that, Kyrie's going to come back because he knows that honestly, I think that KD and James Harden can do it just them two. Honestly,
I think so too. Kyrie. This championship or best with those two.
Like, I honestly think just with them two, they can just make it to the finals by themselves, right? And I think because of that, Kyrie's going to be on board because he's not going to want them to prove how much they don't need Kyrie. You know what I mean?
Just
Kyrie
like the Celtics kind of did.
Kyrie does not want that to happen. So he's going to come back from the edge of the earth. He's going to climb back over, and he's going to join this team, and he's going to do whatever he can because he does not want to miss out on this, right? But like I said, I take reservation. I mean, you got to give credit that KD's coming. He's coming with experience, so he knows what he needs to do to take them over the hump. You know,
they're KD's back. This is KD's team, right? You already said he's James Harden's second to him. Okay.
But that's the thing. Can James Harden buy into that? Because James Harden
dude, him and KD they're boys, man. I think they're boys.
Stop you there, though.
They're gonna have. What do you say, Justin?
I have to stop you there. Is this really KD's team?
Yeah,
because all KD's time, he's always been a follower. He went to Golden State. That's Steph's team, and OKC that was Russ's team. Is this KD's team? Because he seems like
Russ's team. And Russ maybe thought it was his team, but that was KD. It's always been KD's team.
I just don't think KD has the dominant personality. I think he's following what Kyrie's doing.
But there's no doubt.
My question is: this really KD's team?
Yeah, this is KD's team. I mean, they're building everything around KD.
I agree. I agree with Roland. This is KD's team, but I don't know if James Harden knows that. You know what I mean? I think James Harden is coming into this situation thinking that he's the number one option. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, that's one, like Roland, you made the concession that, KD and James Harden, they're bros, right? And that, they talked about this and all that. Well, guess what? Russell and James Harden were bros too, and guess what? That didn't last more than a year. You know
I think that's a little bit more on Russ. I love Russ too, but it's hard. That's a hard fit.
Here's where I mean I don't want to say like I agree with you, but it's because Russ has that mentality like he's 100%. He's all in every single time. You know what I mean? And what did we hear when you know who else is like that, but obviously doesn't have the athleticism? Chris Paul. Chris Paul's the same. Now Chris Paul, when he was with James Harden, did y'all not? Do you guys not remember that he called like in practice? He would like just make fun of James Harden all the time. Because Chris Paul has that personality, and not only that, he has that aura. He's like one of those top guys in the league that everybody respects, right? So Chris Paul was playing with James Harden. He came in. He's an alpha too. You know what I mean? He's not 1A. I mean, yeah, he facilitated James Harden, but that's Chris Paul's game. He facilitates everybody. So Chris Paul actually worked well wherever he went. But when he came in, I don't know if y'all remember reports that he was making fun of James Harden because of his weight, and at that time. And that's because if you compare James Harden at that time to James Harden right now, I mean, James Harden looks like he has a pregame meal before every game, right before every game. It's like, dude, like he's not in good shape.
Do you think he was trying to do that just to get out of Houston? They're just like, gosh, we don't want to deal with this guy. Because he did look a little overweight. I don't want to poke fun at the guy for his weight, but he did look a little bad.
bro, he is definitely overweight. He's not in game shape. Now,
He
mind
did it on
you,
purpose.
James Harden, I don't know if he did it on purpose, but I wouldn't put it past him, right? But at the same time, can he get himself back into the shape that he was before, like in previous years?
I think
You know
so.
what I'm saying? Like
In about 3 weeks.
He has to, man. This is too good of an opportunity for these guys to come out and win a championship. I personally still like the Lakers. I like the Lakers, LeBron James and Anthony Davis and their chemistry and depth over there. I don't know if the Nets get it done, but you have to think if they, like we said, for the next 2 years, they're going to have a chance. So he has to buy in. And just like Kyrie, just like you said, Kyrie will.
what about this? And because I don't know if y'all heard about what's his face, Kendrick Perkins' comments. Like, what if the Nets and the Lakers do meet in the finals, right? And if the Lakers come out victorious, does that solidify LeBron James as like GOAT status, like right then and there?
To a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but to a good amount of people, he's already the GOAT. I think if he wins this time, it's going to be hard to say that he's not, because he's beaten some of the best teams alive, or some of the best teams alive, some of the best teams of all time. Granted, he's been on a super team himself with the Heat. I mean, he created the term super team, right? When he moved over with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, but he also beat the Warriors, which I think is a great feat, even without even that team without KD, because the Warriors went 73-9 that year, had everybody saying that they were the best team of all time, and he beats them in 7 games. Even the series that they lost, that stat line that he put up was ridiculous. And a lot of people like to point to his finals record, but some of the teams that he carried to those finals are I mean, I'm talking about the Cavs the first time and what he did with the Cavs second time in 2012 when Kevin Love went down, Kyrie Irving went down, and then he gets his chance against them the next year. And then he beats the Heat this next time with the Lakers and solidifies himself and his longevity. I don't think anybody's done it as long as him either. So, yeah, if he wins this year, I think he's a GOAT. And that's because I'm a Jordan guy.
Yeah, same here. Like, I think right now Jordan's greatest of all time. But if LeBron is able, like, let's say hypothetically the Nets and the Lakers meet at the finals, right? And LeBron overcomes them, and if he overcomes them, bro, like, it's kind of hard to deny. He already, like, what's that going to put him at? 4 championships?
5. No, wait, he's going to have 6. So, he already has 5, doesn't he? Oh, wait, I'm bad at math. No. He has 4?
No, he has 4.
Okay, he has 4. I'm sorry.
He's gonna have 5, but he's gonna be at like 10 finals over the course of his career, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. 10 finals.
Dude, he was in the finals for a decade. I mean,
if he does that, if within the next 2 years, if he wins one more title, I mean, it's kind of hard not to put him as the GOAT, and that's because, like you mentioned, you're an MJ fan. I'm an MJ fan. You know what I mean? It's solidified when we watched that MJ docu series. I mean, that just reminded everybody. But just like you mentioned, a lot of people already consider him the GOAT. But at the same time, it's the younger generation. It's those that were deprived of being able to watch. His what do you call it? What's his nickname?
His prime. Oh, excuse me.
MJ's nickname. His
airness.
His airness.
His airness.
I couldn't think of it.
Yeah. Happens all the time. But for me, again, like I said, it's the longevity and how long he's been doing it, man. He's like the video that came out today. He's 36. He's 36 years old, and he's still doing it. It's ridiculous.
What's funny, and I wanted to say this real quick. What's funny is that I remember playing NBA 2K games when LeBron was like still with the Heat or whatever, or when he just moved to the Cavs. And I remember, when you play franchise and you play for like 10 years and people start retiring, they'd have LeBron retiring like at 37, 38 years. You know what I mean? And he's 36 right now. That's like, of course, I'm just speaking of the game. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because the game kind of forces players to retire like as they 2 years before they hit 40. But look, he's 36 and he's playing. I mean, I don't know if you guys
he's still the best player in the league.
His defensive efficiency, as far as the players that he guards, like their shooting percentage, I think he's number 1 in the league. If I'm not mistaken, I think that stat came out last week. So I don't know if he's remained there at the top. But being able to keep up that defensive efficiency at age 36, and not only that, he's played every single game. You know what I mean? Like he's not missing out. He's not being Kawhi Leonard. You know what I mean?
Shortened
Like,
off season. In a shortened off season, they had half the recovery time from when the bubble ended till now. But Justin, I mean, you were part of that Lakers victory as part of Lakers Nation. Where do you have LeBron, and what do you think about him beating the Nets, and where that would put him?
Man, that would be hard not to start considering him for the GOAT. You know, for me, Kobe's my GOAT, then it's MJ, but that's just, you know, a biasness.
For sure.
But when you have, what is it, 18 years in the league that he's in right now, and you're going to play for 10 finals, the majority of your time you were played in the NBA finals, how do you not start considering that as the GOAT? And it's not like he, tell me a stat where he's like, you can say, oh, well, look, he's really bad here. There's nothing that he's bad at. He's good on both sides of the floor. It's hard, man. It's hard not to start considering him already as it is now.
And he's never lost the dedication. He's proven time and time again for people who follow him, like on social media, the amount of time that he puts into recovery, the amount of time that he puts into his body to keep himself game ready at this age. I mean, it's hard to be on his team and not want to put out that same effort, you know, and not want to try and win a championship with him, because you have a guy like this at 36 years old that's still working like he's trying to make the team. It's just it's amazing. And at this juncture in his career, it's hard to say that he's not the GOAT. Yeah,
man. And the thing about him is he's been excellent on the court and off the court. The things he's done off the court that players don't normally do, opening up the school, his business dealings. You don't hear anything like, hey, LeBron's got a bad gambling problem or anything weird like that. You know, it's just it's a testament to what kind of character he has as far as a player as well too.
So back to the Nets thing, and I'm gonna keep it with Justin. Are you scared right now as a Laker faithful?
Oh, what bench do they got, bro?
Okay. So you're not
play ISO ball the whole time and win? I don't think so.
It's gonna be. It's
interesting. You gave up Levert, you gave up Allen. Who's going to guard AD there? Jeff Green? I don't think so, bro.
It's probably going to be KD matched up on Jeff Green.
I want that matchup. I like that matchup.
Man, that's going to be.
KD's going to ball. Don't get me wrong. He's going to score.
AD versus KD. That's
the thing is, those guys are going to be dropping like 100-some points every night, but then they're going to freak out on the defensive end when they're also down 100 points. Like that's the thing with that offense. Who's going to be playing defense? Harden's not playing defense, bro.
DeAndre Jordan, man.
One guy. It's just I'm not afraid.
So Justin's not afraid. And Fonz, you posed the question: who do you have winning that matchup? You have the Lakers or the Nets, if that's your finals.
Right now, I have the Lakers because the Nets need to prove. I need to see that they like, I guess, vibe and gel well together on the court. You know what I mean?
That's where I'm at.
You got to see what Kyrie does.
Yeah, it's one thing that on paper, like, you know, we always see teams on paper and we're like, oh, they're the best team. You know what I mean? But when you see them play on the court, that's another thing. And I just don't know, especially with the personalities. I mean, every single one of those personalities from Kyrie, James Harden, and KD, I mean, there's a big question mark on each and every single one of them. You know what I mean? Because, yeah, KD played well, but and he played well on the court, but we knew there was stuff going on behind the scenes. I mean, Draymond Green brought that out. You know what I mean? And sure enough, he left the squad because he wasn't all in. It was all about himself. It was about he just wanted to get his rings and to be known as a champion, to put that on his accolades. You know what I mean? So that way, when you put his 2 championships along with all of his stats, you're like, hey, this guy's a for sure Hall of Famer. He's one of the all-time greats. You know what I mean? But would we be talking about KD in the same light had he not won those 2 championships? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's a great offensive output, but is he like a modern-day Carmelo Anthony as well? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, the argument can be made, and we'll never know because he left OKC.
Exactly.
Right? You'll never know.
So what Fonz is saying, we got those personalities. We got KD, the burner account. We got Kyrie, the flat earther, and Kyrie, the artist. So see what happens. Oh, James Harden, I mean the strip club king. See what happens there.
Yeah, man, that's what's hurting the strip club industry in Houston. And I saw that he liked that tweet or he liked that Instagram post. James Harden, like somebody tweeted like a picture of the strip club industry in Houston, like with the crazy, like that Travis Scott meme where he's like, "What the fuck's going on?" And James Harden liked that post, so he knows what he meant to the city of Houston.
So just to wrap up this Harden trade, I got to ask you guys off the jump, who won the trade between the Rockets and the Nets? Just between those two, who won the trade?
What do you think, Fonz?
Well, look, it's hard to say because every single time that a big mega trade happens, the team that always wins is the team that gets the best player. Honestly, that's usually the way that mega trades work. And the team that has to trade that person, even though they get a whole bunch of assets, you're always rebuilding to get to the point that you were already at with that player. You know what I mean? The only time that I feel, at least in recent history, that a mega trade worked out for the team that gave up the best player was Denver when they gave up Carmelo to the Knicks. Because the Knicks didn't go anywhere and they gave up all of their assets, and Denver was in the playoffs for the years
They're
after
still in
that.
the playoffs.
Yeah, and the Knicks like struggled to even make the playoffs, and they could never win in the playoffs.
That's a good point. That's a good.
So besides that, every single mega trade usually goes in favor to the team that receives the best player. But in this case, I mean, it's obvious they have three of the best players in the game right now. And so it's hard not to say that obviously the Nets win, because what do you want to do as a franchise? I mean, there's 30 teams in the NBA. There's only one goal, and that's to win an NBA championship. So is it wrong to think that the Nets like made a bad choice in trading for James Harden? No. Like if I was the Nets, exactly.
Gotta go for it.
Even if it's just for one championship, like in the next 2 or 3 years, it's worth it, because the Nets already mortgaged their future before when they traded for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce from the Boston Celtics. And that didn't work out, and they put their franchise in the hole for like a decade ever since that happened.
Yeah, until now. They're still technically haven't gotten out.
They mortgaged their future, and guess who benefited? The Boston Celtics. But of course, that's at a time when that was a trade rape, right? Because was it Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce? They were at the end of their.
They're already at the end of their careers. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the opposite. You know what I mean? This is the complete opposite, because James Harden is in his prime. KD is in his prime, with the caveat of him coming off an injury. And then Kyrie is technically in his prime. He's just MIA, So I think the Nets won, but I think that the Rockets did get a good haul. You know what I mean? I would rate their haul. I would give them, either a B+ at least, because they were able to get assets. I mean, and honestly, I like the fact that they were able to flip that trade for I forgot who they traded to get Oladipo. I think that's an amazing get, because I think Oladipo is not only a good player offensively, but he's actually known more for his defense.
Yeah, him and John Wall should be interesting together.
I think the Oladipo thing's a 1-year deal though, because his contract's expiring. So I think they're just going to keep him for the year.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is Oladipo wanted out going into the season, but you really didn't hear a peep about it. A lot of people were bringing that up too. He went out and played every night. He's
that type of player.
Yeah. So I think Houston, they did get a good haul, but right now you have to give it to the Nets, because they're the team that has a chance to win a championship. As Fawn said, that's their one goal every year. The Nets are going for it. This is their big move. They made it. Now let's see if it works. I think, like Justin brought up, and although I will say they are on the fringe of a championship with KD and just James Harden with whatever happens to Kyrie, but if they can get Kyrie to come in and buy in, they're for sure winning the East, and the Lakers series will be as close to a toss-up as you can call it, depending what that team looks like going into the playoffs and going into the finals. But I would still lean Lakers. But the Nets for sure won that trade. And I like what the Rockets did as Fonz. He covered it really good. The Rockets had a really good haul. Can't be mad at that.
Nets winning this trade myself. The Rockets, you get a lot of picks, but you don't get an all-star. You lose your franchise player. And if you do get a franchise player out of these picks, the kid's right now in 8th grade, so you won't see the benefit for a long time.
Yeah. So, they have to hopefully hit in the draft. Yeah.
Well, moving on, let's get to the NFL playoffs. Just a little wild card recap over the weekend. We had the Colts and the Bills. Hell of a game. Bills ended up winning in the end, 27-24. We had the Rams and Seahawks. Rams came in with a new quarterback, hurt his neck. came out with Goff again with the broken thumb. They end up winning 30-20. Then we had Bucks in Washington. Washington with a little bit of a surge in the end, but not enough to hold off the Bucks. Bucks win 31-23. Sunday's games, we had what seems to be a rivalry now between the Ravens and the Titans. Ravens winning 20-13. Bears versus Saints 21-9. Bears Saints winning that one. And then we had Browns versus the Steelers, which a lot of this is the third time they played this year, and it seems to be a rivalry now with the mouths off the Steelers and the Browns. And the Browns won 48-37, which might have been the last game for Big Ben. So opening up this divisional round, we got the Rams and the Packers. Rams opening up at 6.5, and Packers are at -6.5. It will be at Green Bay. It's going to be a cold game. What do you guys think about this one?
I like the Packers in this matchup. I don't trust Jared Goff going into Lambeau. I know there's not going to be fans there, but I never like a warm weather team going into Lambeau Field. And the way that Aaron Rodgers has been playing this year, I mean, he's been playing out of his mind. I mean, he's arguably the NFL MVP, depending what you think about Patrick Mahomes. But Aaron Rodgers, he seems to have been on a mission this whole year, and I'm not going to bet against him in this spot. I like Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. They cover the line, 6.5, with the way the Rams have been playing might be a little too much for me, but I do like the Packers to win this game. The only thing that I can see happening is a dominant defensive performance from the Rams to potentially win that game, and that would take Devontae Adams to completely erase, to be completely erased by Jalen Ramsey, which Jalen Ramsey's been just erasing everybody that he's gone up against. I don't think he's only given up one touchdown this year, I think, against the big dogs that he's played against. And I think that was Stephon Diggs that scored a touchdown against him. But when they matched up, he only had that one catch, and it was like for 4 yards or something. So Jalen Ramsey's been on a man on a mission this year, and I think that's the key for the Rams. It's just going to have to be a dominant defensive performance, but I'm going to lean Packers here. I'm not going to bet against them. What about you, Fonz?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, everything you just said in regards to, like, the only way the Rams can win this game is if they have a phenomenal defensive game. Honest, like Aaron Donald has to go off, and Jalen Ramsey has to completely shut off Devontae Adams. That's the only way they're winning the game, because they're not winning this game offensively. I mean, let's be real. Jared Goff is not gonna win the game for them, and not only, I mean, even if his thumb was 100%, I still don't think he was gonna win this game. And knowing that he's dealing with that ailment, I mean, that just clearly, in my eyes, I think Green Bay is gonna run away with this. When you look at the Rams, I mean, I know that they won a playoff game last week, but if you look at their last 4 games heading into the season, they were 2-2, and one of the games they lost was to the Jets. I mean, like, you know what I mean? They gave their Jets their first win. So, like, am I gonna count on a loss to the Jets and gave them their only win to, and losing their number 1 pick opportunity? Am I gonna count on and trust that team to play against Aaron Rodgers, who, as you mentioned, is an MVP candidate, who threw 48 touchdowns, virtually no interceptions, and was just giving it to Devontae. Like, I felt like in many games he was just trying to get Devontae just a touchdown. Like, hey, bro, I'm trying to get you a touchdown every single game.
5 multi-touchdown games.
And I loved it, because one of my side bets in one of my fantasy football leagues was who was going to be the number 1 receiver, right?
He picked Devontae.
Total score by the end of the season, and I picked Devontae, and this other guy, but mind you, it was whoever we had on our squad. This other guy had Stephon Diggs, he had Tyreek Hill, he had DK Metcalf. I mean, he had 3 receivers, and all 3 of those were like in the top 5, but Devontae came out number 1. You know what I mean? So, and that's because he missed 2 games.
That's the year that he had.
He missed 2 games, and he's coming off of career highs in receptions, touchdowns, everything, and he missed 2 games. Like, I mean, he would have. I think he. I don't know what it was. He tied. I think it was touchdown season record for the Packers with Shannon Sharp's brother. What's his face? Shannon Sharp's brother. He was a receiver for the Green Bay Packers.
I can't think of his name.
Anyway, his last name Sharp. So he had like 17 touchdowns, and Devontae Adams tied him or passed him.
Sterling Sharp.
There we go. So anyway, I think that the Packers are going to run away with this game. I don't think that the Rams have a chance. But as you mentioned, Roland, the only caveat and the only way that the Rams are going to win this game if they just put up a defensive front and stop the Packers. Because if Jalen Ramsey can stop Devontae and Aaron Donald can get to Aaron Rodgers, that's the only way that they have a chance. And
Do you think Jalen Ramsey?
Cam Akers has to run for like 150 yards rushing. So
I mean, they're going to try and do that. They're going to try and get the run game going because you know that they don't want Jared Goff going out there and chucking it 50 times a game because that's not going to work for them. That's going to end up in a bad situation if the Packers get up like 14-0 or something like that. It's going to be a long day for the Rams, and that's kind of where I lean. I lean with you, Fonz, in terms of who's going to win the game. But I was going to ask you, do you think Jalen Ramsey's going to have his way against Davante Adams, or are you sticking with your boy?
Look, Jalen Ramsey is a monster. You know what I mean? And honestly, it's hard, like as a defensive player, it's hard to cover a receiver. You know what I mean? Because you're going off of their hip movement, their feet movement, their head movement. Like, I mean, you're following their steps and then you have to recover, right? And Jalen Ramsey is amazing at that. And not only that, he can off the line, he can make sure that you don't get past 5 yards. You know what I mean? So Jalen Ramsey is like, I mean, he's worth the money that they paid him. But
for sure.
He's not gonna hold Davante Adams. I mean, he's gonna slow him down, but Davante Adams is gonna get his. And I think, like as I mentioned again, Green Bay is gonna come out on top, and it's gonna be, you can bet on the Packers. What's the line?
Okay, so let me ask you. Let me ask you this. On the DraftKings over-under for Davante Adams, are you taking the over or the under on 75.5 yards against Jalen Ramsey? Okay, you're taking over 75 yards. What about you, Jess?
Dude, there hasn't been a receiver to date with over 75 on them.
Nope, there hasn't been. But I'm going to go with Fonz. I'm taking the over. I like Davante Adams against Jalen Ramsey. I'm doing it. I'm taking the Packers also. What about you, Jess?
I'm comfortable taking the Packers on the spread, but I'm not comfortable on the Davante Adams thing. Now, if you said he gets a touchdown, I'm okay with that, but I think he will be held under 75.
So you think the Packers get it done even without a Davante Adams performance? Is what you're saying,
so.
too. Okay, I like that. Aaron Rodgers has been a man on a mission this year. So,
and the Packers, the last 6 times they played the Rams, they have covered the spread on them. So
it's unanimous. We talking about sports on the
big thing is Aaron Jones going to back for the game? If I'm not mistaken, he got taken off the injury report because I know he didn't play that. He didn't play that last game, but either way, even AJ Dillon. I don't know if you saw it when he played his first game. I mean, he's a beast too. So and they have a great backfield. And then even if you go to Williams, so I think, like I said, I think it's landslide, but we'll see.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with the cover of the spread, but
I'm going to be taking the Packers on Sunday.
But I'll be paying attention to that matchup.
Hey, I like them in a teaser. You tease them down a PK or to a pick 'em. That's easy money right there and win the game.
Well, moving on, the Baltimore Ravens head to Buffalo to take on the Bills, who are a 14-3 record in Saturday night's divisional round matchup. The Ravens 12-5 bring a great defense and offense to Buffalo, including maybe the league's most dangerous player at quarterback. But Baltimore has not faced a quarterback close to Josh Allen's caliber since playing the Chiefs in Week 3. The line's opening up at Baltimore plus 2.5 versus Buffalo Bills at minus 2.5. What do you guys think here? I'll open up with Fonz.
This one's tough. This one is really tough.
Yes,
my heart is saying Ravens because honestly, I want Lamar Jackson to win. I'm not saying I want him to win the Super Bowl because I mean inevitably I want him to do eventually, but I want him to get. I know he got past his first round. That was like his big test. He got over the hump. But what can he do now, right? And I think Ravens have the potential to win this game, but if they do, it's going to be a close one. So again, that's what my heart says. But my mind tells me that the Bills are going to run away with this game. I think if the Bills do win this game, they're going to win it by more than a touchdown. I think honestly, I could even venture to say by 10 points. But if the Ravens win, it's going to be a close one. I think those are the two options, the two ways that this is going to slide. Josh Allen's been balling. Stephon Diggs has been balling. Like, I mean, the Bills and it's I like that the Bills, even the Cleveland Browns, like the fact that these two teams who have notoriously been losers, right? I like the fact that they've overcome their hurdles, because again, the Ravens, it was the hurdle of Lamar Jackson winning his first playoff game, and the fact that, like, as you mentioned, Justin, like it's looking like the Ravens and the Titans is becoming a rivalry, right? And earlier in the year, the Titans were dancing on the Ravens logo, and then of course when the Ravens win, they did the same thing. Right? It was kind of like a got you back, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the Browns have been the laughingstock of the NFL for the last 30 years. And then the Browns have the rivalry with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the Pittsburgh Steelers is like the older brother. You know what I mean? That always beats on them. They're the best team in that division, like year after year after year. And so the fact that they were able to overcome them, just not just for, what's his face, Baker Mayfield career wise, but just Browns franchise history wise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those were two hurdles that they overcame. I just like the fact that the Bills, again, who they themselves have been laughingstocks for most of the time, and when they were good, back when the Cowboys were good, they went to 4 straight Super Bowls, but they lost 4 straight Super Bowls. You know what I mean? They've never won either. So it's like a feel-good story for me on both of them. And I know we're going to get into the Chiefs-Browns matchup, but my heart tells me the Ravens, but the Bills, I think they're going to run away with this game.
This is a tough one, as Fawn said, and I think he did a good job of covering both sides and both paths to victory. But for me, I'm going to have to agree. I'm going with Buffalo. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, but I just think Buffalo's been playing better for a longer portion of the season. A lot of people are saying that Baltimore is coming into their own. They're, really heating up at the right point, but if you look at their schedule, I mean, other than the Browns victory, that was that shootout, it was like 47-42. The last couple of games that led them into the playoffs, they played the Jaguars, the Giants, the Bengals. That's kind of what led them into the playoffs, playing those 3 teams. And then they beat the Titans, getting over the hump. But I still got to go with Josh Allen and the Bills. I like their offense. I think they know their identity a little bit more than the Ravens do. I think the Ravens are finally kind of figuring out what their identity is. And it's crazy because they should have known last year what it was with Lamar Jackson winning the MVP the way that he did. And you kind of saw them against the Titans, the way that they called that game. It looked really, really good for Lamar Jackson. But I like the Bills, man. I think it's just one of those things. I don't know if they're going to end up beating the Chiefs, who I still have going to the Super Bowl, but it's like a little bit of a destiny season for them. Everything's going well. This is one of their best seasons that they've had in recent memory. Josh Allen's playing out of his mind, and that's where I'm leading this year. I don't think their defense is better than the Ravens. I actually like the Ravens' defense a little bit more, but I'm going to go with the Bills and their offense because I like their offensive identity a little bit more than I do the Ravens, and that's because I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan.
Yeah, same here. It's the Bills for me. What Cole Beasley's been doing in the slot this year with Josh Allen has been amazing.
Stephon Diggs too.
I think I'm going to see another interception here early by Lamar, just like he did in the last game. But this time they're not going to be able to recover because the Titans' offense is not so much built to keep scoring, but Buffalo can with the pass game that the Titans lack. So I think they will outscore them and see a Buffalo victory here on Saturday night.
I think it might be snowing on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, there's a 30% chance of rain.
This is Saturday night game.
Oh, Saturday? 40% chance of precipitation. So who knows what the weather's going to be like at that game.
All right, let's move on to Sunday. The Cleveland Browns made history last weekend with their first postseason victory in over a quarter of a century. But earning a second will be a tall task as they tangle with Kansas City in an NFL division round game. The Browns 12-5 are double-digit underdogs against the Chiefs team that was 14-2 on the season that rolled the NFL's best regular season record. The lines opened up at Cleveland plus 10 versus Kansas City at minus 10.
I think Cleveland might cover. I think 10's a lot of points, especially the way that they've been playing. I think their defense is a little bit of a weakness, though. I know they have a pretty decent pass rush with Myles Garrett, the way they've been playing this year. But I'm going Kansas City, man. They're going to win this game. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. I think it's just too much. It's too much, and I'm not going to say much more than that. I mean, the Browns have had a really, really good year, as Fonz talked about, and Justin just said right now, overcoming the hump, making the playoffs despite everything, winning their first playoff game with all the controversy that was going on with COVID, not having their head coach and Kevin Stefanski at the game, and to completely rout the Steelers the way that they did, 28-0 in the first quarter. That says a lot, but the Kansas City Chiefs are a different beast, and that's where I'm going. But I would like the Browns to cover. 10's a lot of points.
Chiefs, they're gonna cover next. I mean, let's move on. I mean, like the Chiefs are not gonna have a problem with the Browns. You know, like as I mentioned before, they overcame their proverbial hurdle that they couldn't get over for the last 30 years. You said 25, right? But there's no way that they're gonna be able to overcome Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, you just go down the line from their offensive weapons, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. I mean, everything like that. You can't stop them. You know, offense. I mean, even all the other receivers, they're all quick, they're all fast, and they all know what to do. They get open. You know, so and Patrick Mahomes is going to dissect their defense. I mean, unless Myles Garrett can get to Patrick Mahomes, but I mean, he can't do it alone. The Browns, there's just no way. And then Baker, like as great, I don't want to say as great, as good as he has been recently. I don't think he has the what do you call it? The playoff experience necessary to beat somebody like Patrick Mahomes, who's won Super Bowl. You know, like there's just no way. He has to play out of his mind. He has to have one of those ridiculous games that you just don't expect for the Browns to win. But if he plays
the
way,
have a good giveaway game with Kareem Hunt and
so if they're able to slow down Kansas City, if they're just able to mess up their offensive game plan, right? And if the Browns are able to control the clock and just run at will like they did last week with as you mentioned, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, if they're able to do that, if they're able to control the clock and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, then possibly. But as you know, because that's what we talk about every single time when we, you know, back in the day when we talked about Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, keep them off the field. If you can do that, then you have the chance to win the game. But the thing is, Patrick Mahomes doesn't need but 30 seconds, 40 seconds. You know,
he just needs a little bit.
He just needs a minute, and he can get his team down the field and boom, touchdown. He doesn't need the 2 minutes necessary that we always think. Like Patrick Mahomes on a dime could just, you know, you think that the momentum's going the Browns' way, and then boom, you know, and the Browns might win as far as the overall time possession. The time of possession, they might have that, but the Chiefs don't need that offensively. So.
And the Browns, I mean, the Chiefs defense isn't much better, but the Browns are the 25th ranked defense in terms of DVOA. So they're probably not going to have a good time playing against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So the Browns coach be at the game this weekend?
I think so. I think he'll be there.
Yeah, the Browns are a feel-good story. You know, the quote-unquote Cinderella team of this playoffs. But the feel-good story comes to an end this weekend because Mahomes is there and Andy Reid and what could probably be the last season with that offensive coordinator that the Chiefs have, because I know he's a hot commodity for a head coaching job, almost with like 5 or 6 teams that have interviewed just this week alone.
I don't know why he's not a head coach already. You know, I'm surprised that the Chiefs were able to keep him, honestly.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to end up with the Texans? I like him.
The Texans haven't even interviewed him yet.
Really? Well, I heard that he's an option. I heard that he's an option. So
I heard this is the thing. The Texans have no idea what the hell they're doing. You know what I mean? And if they were smart in their right mind, they would try to get Eric Bieniemy. But they don't know what the hell they're doing. I know that because Deshaun Watson wants Eric Bieniemy. But you know, the front office in the Houston Texans organization, they're not listening to Deshaun Watson. You know what I mean? So honestly, they're losing favor with their top quarterback, which, you know, 25 other teams would love to have Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't know what the hell they're doing. But Eric Bieniemy deserves to be a head coach. I know I would drop him. I would drop Mike McCarthy if I knew where I was going to get Eric Bieniemy. Yeah. Honestly. Like, and I know Roland probably knows this from our chats. Like, I mean, I'm disgusted with Kellen Moore. You know what I mean? As a Cowboys fan, get that guy as far away from a Dallas Cowboy coaching position as possible. Like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Had a coaching job interview. Hopefully he gets it.
I hope he gets it. I mean, when I saw that happen, I hope. I mean, you saw the meme that I posted. I mean, I was like, D-Lord, baby, Jesus, like, please get him away from us, you know. let him get hired by the Eagles, because if he gets hired by the Eagles, I know that the Eagles are gonna suck for another 5 years at least, and so the Cowboys will have an easier route to winning the division every year. That's how little faith I have in Kellen Moore.
I wonder what it is with the Cowboys and third string quarterbacks. Like, I mean, and wanting them to be their offensive coordinators and coach.
Here's the thing. It's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones wants to be able to develop a coach. He did that with Jason Garrett, as you mentioned, and he's doing that with Kellen Moore. He wants to be able to say, like, this is my guy. I won with my guy. I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Because Jerry Jones is not going to step down from his position. You know what I mean? Like John Elway, you know, like he started, like, you know, he won the Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning. He got Peyton Manning to get there. But as soon as Peyton Manning retired, the Denver Broncos have been on a decline. And John Elway, he took a step back. He took a step back by elevating his position to president, but he no longer has the GM responsibilities and player personnel control, right? So that's what John Elway did. But Jerry Jones would never do that until this guy dies. He's going to be the GM, player personnel, whatever he wants to be called for the Dallas Cowboys, and he's going to keep Kellen Moore for as long as he can. But I've never understood Kellen Moore because he runs the same offense that Jason Garrett was doing with a little tinkering here or there. But all I know is that if it's third and long and we need 17 yards, we're going to do a screen pass, dump it off behind the line of scrimmage and try to get 20 yards. Like it's always the same play. Or if it's third and 7, our receivers are going to run 5 yards and go out and get tackled as soon as they catch the ball, and it's going to be 4 and out again. Like that's Kellen Moore's offense every single time. I can predict it. So, you know, if we can get rid of him, great. But anyway, I know that's a tangent. As a Cowboys fan, I brought all that stuff.
We got to. We're all Cowboys fans here, so we got to.
Bring us back into order, Justin, please.
All right, guys. We're moving on to the Sunday night game. New Orleans Saints went 2-0 against Tampa Bay this season, defeating the Buccaneers 34-21 in New Orleans and 38-3 in Tampa. The Saints will go for the sweep and try to punch their ticket to the NFC Championship game with another win against Tampa Bay on Sunday. Tampa Bay is at +3 and New Orleans at -3.
And give me Tampa Bay here. I like Tampa's offense. I know that they've lost both matchups against the Saints, but I have to go with Tampa here. I'd like the way Tom Brady's playing a little bit more than Drew Brees. You know, Drew Brees has been injured most of the year this year, and that's where I'm going. I'm not going to put much more into it. Tampa Bay's defense is playing good enough for me. I think they're top 10. They're not quite as good as New Orleans' defense, but it's a toss-up game. That's why it's called. It's at -3. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm going Tampa here. 42-year-olds versus 43. That's crazy.
It is crazy. This has never happened in NFL history as far as like the two oldest quarterbacks playing at this age
versus 43.
At this age and in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Much less a regular season game, right? But anyway, I'm kind of with Roland, but I want to go with the Saints.
Okay.
And here's why. I agree, Roland. Drew Brees, it looks like, I mean, if you look at Drew Brees and you look at Tom Brady is 18 months older. He's 43, right?
43. Yeah, he's the older quarterback.
But he looks like he's the one that's 18 months younger than Drew Brees. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. I hate Tom Brady. I don't want to see him succeed. You know what I mean? and it's hard for me to go against, not only because of Tom Brady's pedigree and all that stuff and everything that he's accomplished, but the fact that he has Mike Evans, he has Chris Godwin, you know, he has Antonio Brown, he has Robert Kelsey. I mean, he himself is loaded with offensive weapons. You know what I mean? And so it's hard to say the same way that, you know, as much as I was praising the Kansas City Chiefs and how they cannot be stopped because of their offensive weapons, it's hard to say this to go against Tom Brady because it's the same conversation, but they're going against the Saints and they're not going against the Browns. And the Saints defense has been playing phenomenal. And I think they can get to Tom Brady. And that's the thing. Tom Brady is not a mobile quarterback. So we know if you can get to the quarterback, and that's always Tom Brady's Achilles heel. That's it. That's the kryptonite. If you get to him, then you mess up his game, and then you can take over, because that's when you're going to see Tom Brady throw 3 picks in a game. If your defensive line is able to get to him, that's when you're going to see Tom Brady throw 3 picks. But if you can't get to him and you leave him untouched, he's going to pick you apart. He's gonna throw it to every single one of his offensive weapons, and they're going to get down the field and they're going to score. So, you know, I tend to agree with Roland with everything you said, and I would normally go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I have a feeling, and this is one of those gut feelings, that the Saints are going to get to Tom Brady. They're going to disrupt his game plan, and he's going to throw a couple of picks, and they're going to go downhill from there. I think the Saints are going to overcome Drew Brees' inability to throw the ball down the field, because at the end of the day, as we've seen with even Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning couldn't even throw the ball, beyond 40, 50 yards, but he still dissected the defense. He's still short dump offs. And guess what?
To Kamara.
Kamara. You know what I mean?
If they can stop Kamara, that's where it is for the Bucks. For me.
So because of that, and even number 87, what's his name? The tight end for the Saints. I'm blanking here, but they're Cook, yeah. Cook has been he's been coming in the clutch, especially in the red zone. I mean, he's such a big body that they can't stop him. I know Cook has been, relatively good throughout his career, but he hasn't been one of those perennial tight ends. But this year he's been playing exceptional, and I just think the weapons that the Saints have as well. I mean, Michael Thomas, Cook, and Kamara. I mean, they can get it done. And like I said, Drew Brees can dissect. He can throw those little short dump offs, and they can win the game like that.
Where do you lean, Justin?
I'm going to leave Tampa Bay. What I've been seeing is Tampa Bay is getting hot at the right time, and New Orleans has been fading a little bit here and there for me. I do see what Fawn says as far as the weapons that Saints have, but I just think Tampa Bay will win this game because it's so hard to beat a team 3 times. As it is, it's hard to beat a divisional team twice, but 3 times, you're asking for a lot. And I just think the GOAT will prevail here.
Was AB there for both matchups? Because I think that's
not the first one. I don't think.
If AB, because AB looks like he's playing like the old AB, at least this last game.
Yeah, he's coming on.
If he can continue that, I mean, the Bucks are dangerous. So yeah, give me the Bucks.
But here's the thing, just real quick, Justin, before you move on, I agree, and that's a statistic that's thrown there all the time, that it's hard to beat a team 3 times. Yeah. But if if we saw, I mean, I'm just trying to come up with an analogy, but if you saw somebody lose a fight to one guy twice, do you think he's going to beat him on the 3rd one? I mean,
that's true too. That's true too. That's a good point.
I get the historical reference that you're talking about, because I mean, I've experienced that as a Cowboys fan when the Cowboys beat the Giants twice, and the Giants as a wild card beat the Cowboys, and then they win the Super Bowl against the Tom Brady's Patriots. I get it. I understand historically, that's relevant. But if you see a team beat another team twice, what makes you think, oh yeah, no, for sure now Tampa Bay is going to beat them? Like, come on.
Just by the trend I'm seeing now, because that team is not the same team that opening weekend, because that first weekend it was still chemistry issues. Rob Gronkowski's not in football shape. The second time, sure, I think they're a little bit more complete, but Antonio Brown is still not Antonio Brown at that game either. Now they've been a little bit hotter, so that's why I say that.
Yeah. So I think it's the first game that we disagreed on. I think we agreed on all the 3 previous games, but Fonz took the Saints here, and we're on Tampa. So
good reasoning. He had a good path to victory for them too. So that's the game we got to pay attention to. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out.
Justin, I think me and you before the playoffs, we both had Packers and Chiefs, right? Do you have Packers and Chiefs? Is that still it for you? Or are you changing it? It seems like you like the Bucks.
Man, I like the Bucks right now. I really do.
So you think the Bucks get through?
Over the
they
Packers?
They spanked the Packers in the regular season.
I think they get through.
Okay. What about you, Fonz? You had the Saints winning this game. What's your Super Bowl right now?
I'd have to say, I mean, I typically don't like to go chalk, as far as Packers Chiefs, but yeah. I think that's the inevitable matchup. You know what I mean? I think that's how it's going to play out. I mean, if it were to come to a Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, I think that would be an amazing game as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I would be excited to see that.
For sure.
I don't think it's going to play that. I mean, if I have the Saints beating the Buccaneers, what makes me think I'm going to have the Buccaneers? Making it to the championship round, because if the Bucks get past Drew Brees and the Saints, then they have to get past the Packers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Are they going to beat Patrick Mahomes? You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to happen.
And the Super Bowl's in Tampa Bay. No one's ever done that before. Playing the Super Bowl at their home field.
So if we're gonna go historical reference, then we know that it's not gonna be Tom Brady.
That's true. Yeah.
But but I don't think that's gonna happen. But as I mentioned, I would love to see an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, mano a mano, because
Yeah.
those are the two quarterbacks that over the last decade that
Everyone
we talked
talks
like,
about.
hey,
Yeah.
who's the best quarterback like ever, right? And of course, Tom Brady has all the accolades, right? But we cannot deny Aaron Rodgers and his production and his
And his skill
touchdown to
set.
interception
Yeah.
ratio. Like he has the highest passer rating of any quarterback of all time for I don't know, like 50 plus games or I don't know what. But like Aaron Rodgers is that guy. Now, if we were to switch
Bad
them,
man.
if we were to go back in time and whenever Aaron Rodgers came out, like when he was drafted, and we were able to switch them at that point in their careers, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and we have Aaron Rodgers with the Packers, and we have Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers with the Patriots and Tom Brady with the Packers. Do we think that Tom Brady's still winning 6 Super Bowls? And in my mind, if Aaron Rodgers is with the Patriots this whole time instead of Tom Brady, I don't think Aaron Rodgers loses 3 Super Bowls. You know what I mean? I think he wins almost every single one of them, and he gets more than 6. You know what I mean? That's in my personal opinion. I just think Aaron Rodgers, skill-wise, is the better quarterback. Like if you just put him 1-to-1, but Tom Brady kind of benefited from having the perfect
circumstantial.
recipe.
A lot of it's circumstantial. Where you're at. That's why you brought up that point of switching them at the beginning of their careers and have Aaron Rodgers with Bill Belichick in that organization with the Patriots. A lot of it is circumstantial, and I tend to agree with you, Fonz. Aaron Rodgers, in terms of pure skill, I think it's undeniable. I don't think anybody has a better set of tools than him, other than number 15 that we just got done talking about on the Chiefs. But he's still early on in his career. Aaron Rodgers was a Patrick Mahomes a couple of years ago that everybody was like, oh my gosh, what's he doing? Everyone's like, no look past Patrick Mahomes. Well, Aaron Rodgers was no look passing a long time ago. So yeah, I like Aaron Rodgers. I think he's in, like Fon said, it's inevitable. I think it's going to be Green Bay versus KC. But I want to see that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady matchup. I do want to see that. That would be a really, really good Sunday night football game.
Well, that's a wrap for the NFL this week. Fonz, are you going to stay on for the UFC, or is that a wrap for you?
I mean, I would love to join in conversation, but I think my UFC commentary won't be as insightful as my NFL commentary.
Okay. Well, just real quick, you want to plug anything? Plug yourself or your social medias?
No, man, I'm good. I mean, I would love to be back on.
Where can we find you? What's your Twitter handle? Is that your handle here on the screen?
That's my handle. But I like to be private because I don't like my stuff getting seen by too many people. So I'm not the one to, you know what I mean? Because I do share some questionable stuff here and there. But I mean, if you follow me, exactly. It's all over the place. You know what I mean? It's literally all over the place. But I mean, if you follow me, you're gonna know exactly the way that I feel on pretty much every subject, because I'm very vocal with what I think and what I believe and all that stuff. But anyway, I mean, I appreciate you guys having me on the show. I would love to be back on here, and I'm pretty sure y'all are gonna bring me on because you're gonna realize that after this coming weekend, you're gonna be like, dang, Fonz went 4 for 4. Like, we got to bring this guy back on. So
if you're free next Thursday, I'll take you back on to talk the results on NFL.
And we got to have you talk NBA here too. I like your Spurs. You being a Spurs fan here with me, so we can team up on Ben. So
I know I didn't even get to talk. I mean, I would have talked about the Spurs. Let me see how they're doing right now. I mean, it looks like they're putting a whooping on the Rockets. So Ben's is glad that he wasn't able to make it and talk shit. But no, anytime you want to talk NBA basketball, NFL, I'm all for it.
I'll leave you with one question. Do you think the Spurs make the playoffs this year?
As of right now, I want to say yes, just from my pure bias, because I think that they're gelling together. DeMar DeRozan is playing a lot better, but it's all those surprise players that
3-pointer now.
Exactly, but it's all those surprise players that nobody else knows unless you're a Spurs fan. It's the Keldon Johnson, you know what I mean? It's the DeJounte Murray, you know what I mean? Like, it's all those players that
Devin Cassell or what?
Devin Vassell, yeah.
Yes, that guy, dude.
Yeah, it's all those players that as Spurs fans we know. We're like, hey, like, we know the players, but it's those players are not known by anybody else that is not a Spurs fan, right? So it's those no name, non-recognizable players that I feel that are making that next jump, and they're the ones that are going to take the Spurs because they have a great. Honestly, I feel they have a top 5 young core as far as NBA basketball players. You know what I mean? Like young core, top 5. You know, so I'm not talking about top 5 players in the league. Young, if you look at young cores, you know what I mean? I think the Spurs are up there, and I think they're going to do good for the few years to come. So I look forward to it. But, you know, I don't know if they're going to make it to the playoffs. But in my heart, I think they are.
I think they will. And I got to ask y'all, is this Pop's last year?
That's tough, man. It looks like he's having a good time coaching. Honestly, it looks like he's enjoying himself out there. So it's going to be hard for me to say. And he's going to coach Team USA this year, isn't he?
I think so.
Here's my thing. I would love for him. I mean, I'll take Pop for as long as he wants to coach. I mean, he has like he has the green card to do whatever he wants because he took the Spurs organization. He's done everything for us. So I'm not going to be one of those ungrateful franchises like the Lakers or whatever that they get rid of their coaches. I'm just saying. I'm not going to be that. I'm a loyal Spurs fan, so he has earned the right to be here as long as he wants. It doesn't matter if we go through losing seasons. He's earned it. When he retires, he retires. But if it were me and what I would like to see, because I don't know, not a lot of people realize this or recognize this or know this, but Greg Popovich wasn't the coach when he first got here. You know what I mean? He was the GM and president, right? And then when his coach, I don't know if it was Brown, but they had a losing season, and Greg Popovich was on the hot seat. He ended up stepping down and becoming the coach himself. You know, he's like, you know what? If you can't do it, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And he did it. And yeah, he had one losing season, but that's because Darren was hurt for the whole year. And then magically we got Tim Duncan, and then the rest is history because then he becomes the most successful as far as winning percentage coach in NBA history. He's had the greatest 15-year span as far as winning percentage in all sports franchise history in NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB. He's had the greatest 15-year span that's greater than any of the 15-year spans that the Celtics had, Lakers had. I mean, all time, it's been an all-time great, you know, his tenure there, right? So what I would like to see is, honestly, when it's getting to the point where he can't coach anymore, I would like to see him move back up to just the president GM role, and then let Becky Hammon move up. That's what I would love to see. Just from a Spurs fan, I would like to see that happen. Becky Hammon becomes the first female NBA coach, and it's with the Spurs. It's with the Spurs organization. I mean, technically, she coached the first game already when Greg Popovich got kicked out of the game earlier this season. But that's what I would like to see whenever Greg Popovich is ready to hang. But I would want him to stay with the organization because I also know that, and as Roland knows this, or as Justin, are you a Spurs fan?
I'm a Lakers fan.
No, you're a Lakers fan. I knew that. I knew that already. I don't know why I asked that. Anyway, what's it called? I know that as we all know, Greg Popovich lost his wife a couple of years ago during that Kawhi Leonard trade fiasco, and I think that's the only reason why Greg Popovich has stayed as long as he has, because otherwise he had made the promise to Tim Duncan, like, dude, when you're out, I'm out. Like, I ain't staying for a rebuilding season, but then, you know, he made the promise to LaMarcus Aldridge as far as when we were trying to recruit him in free agency. Like, he's like, hey, I'm going to be here for the duration of your contract, like the 4-year contract that he had with us, right? And he lived up to that promise, and he could have hung it up then. But I think after that trade fiasco with Kawhi Leonard and with him losing his wife, and again, these are my assumptions. I'm not trying to put this out there or anything like that, but I think Greg Popovich kind of needs, like, being his family. Spurs are his family. Yeah. Like every person from the owner to the players, he's invested himself to everybody that he's coached, and even his coaching assistants. I mean, he tries to get them good jobs, and a lot of them has been successful, you know, wherever they coach. So I would like to see him move up. That's what I would personally like to see, and I think it might happen, but we'll see. I think Becky Hammon might get pulled away from the Spurs from some random team that's just going to give her that opportunity, and she's going to jump on it because she's going to make history. But I would prefer
deservedly so. Yeah, she's worked her way through the ranks.
Yeah, you would like to see Pop stay with the Spurs organization somehow, some way, in some facet. You know, you don't want to see him go. You know, well-respected coach. I have nothing I can say bad about Pop, man. I mean, he beat us 03 and 01, but man, he's awesome.
As Fawn said it, he can believe when he wants.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he needs like 80 odd some games to be like the leader in wins for coaching, like all time. I think he's third right now. But so if you think about it, 80 some games, obviously the Spurs are not going to go undefeated. So it's like, if he stays 2 years, is he going to stay long enough to be the eventual number in coaching wins? You know, because I know he is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, number one when you include playoffs and regular season wins. But if you're just including regular season wins, I think he's like 2 or 3, and I think the number one is like 80 odd some games ahead of him.
Regular season, he's 72 games off.
That's what I said. I said it was like 80 some games. But like I said, if you include the playoffs and regular season, he's all time.
No, he's 52 games off. Excuse me, my math is bad. Yeah, he's 52 games off.
Okay, well then good. I mean, then it's a potential this year, potentially.
That's attainable.
But in like, to be realistic, I think he needs this year and next year. So it's like, is he going to stay that long in order to break? I know he doesn't care about records. Honestly, Greg Popovich doesn't. But as a Spurs fan, you like to own those all-time things. You know what I mean? Like as a Lakers fan, you brag about the championships. Like as a Spurs fan, you want to be able to hang your hat off on something. You know.
For sure.
Great organization.
Well, Fonz, man, thanks for coming on again, dude. It's been much appreciated, and love your insight on everything. Honestly, you did a great job of breaking everything down, and we're definitely going to have you back on, man.
Hey, thank you, Roland. Thank you,
free next Thursday, bro. I'd like to get you back on for the NFL recap.
Everybody at Fonz Guzman, follow him on Twitter, even though he doesn't want you to. Follow him.
We'll see if I accept the follow.
There you go.
All right, later, man. Thanks for coming on, man.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, that was good.
Yes, sir.
All right, UFC's back, Roland, and guess what? It's back on ABC Network. First time ever it's been on ABC.
First card of the year, baby.
Fight Island, bro.
First card of the year.
Here we got 3 cards in a row. We're gonna have Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. But this Saturday, our guy,
Max Holloway, man.
The best is blessed. He's back, baby.
I'm already getting that. I already had that. I had a fight week, man. I got nervous on Monday because I already knew it was here because we're both big Max Holloway fans, man. And this is a big fight for his career. You know, he obviously wants. We're gonna get into it right now, but yeah, it's a big week, man. And first time on ABC. It doesn't really get any bigger than this.
So anyway, Max coming off 2 straight losses to the champ Volk. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, but given he fought Poirier at lightweight, and the other loss was
Volkanovski twice.
That's right. Those were the 2 losses. And he did before that he did defend his title against Ortega. Calvin's coming off 2 straight wins. He did have a loss against Zabit, but that's questionable to a lot of fans. I know everyone says if that goes 5 rounds, that's not a loss because Zabit had the cardio expiring on him, and Calvin was putting it on. But between these 2 guys, it's a 5-round fight. Who do you have?
I'm going to have to go with Max Holloway. I think, Calvin Kattar is trending upwards. I've watched his last couple of fights because he's been fighting during the COVID era, or he got a lot of fights in during the COVID era here and really made a name for himself, I think. And he deserves to be in this matchup, as Max Holloway said. I watched a lot of these interviews this week to see where each fighter's mindset is at. And I'm just going to have to go with Max, man. He's ready to, prove once again that he's the GOAT. I think he's still a little tweaked about the last result. I think in both interviews, or all 3 interviews really that I watched of him this week, he brought up the fact that everybody thought that he beat Volkanovski, and that he still thinks that he beat Volkanovski, and that that he wasn't necessarily hurt by the decision, and that he's kind of over it, but he's just focused on his next task at hand, and that he's ready to come with it. The one thing that I'll say, and I want to ask you, do you think it's weird that he's not sparring? Do you like that mindset that he's come with, saying that I've spent so much time at the top of the game and in the game, I don't need to be taking all these shots in camp. I'm not sparring anymore.
Well, there's a stat that came out this week that Max has been hit the most out of all UFC fighters in the head.
See,
So
why
I'm
take
okay
more
with him
damage?
not taking on anything where he maybe gets knocked out in camp or anything like that.
Yeah.
I trust what he knows what he knows. Coming into that second Volk fight, he was training in his
In
garage
his
on
garage.
Zoom. Yeah, on Zoom. So, and I think he won that fight. And John Anik was there on his podcast this week, and he even said everybody thought that he won that fight too. So it's Max knows what he's doing. I trust him completely, but Calvin is trending up. But you know me, this is regardless. I don't care who Max you put in front of him.
The best is
I'm
blessed,
picking
baby.
Max. Yeah,
The best
I'm
is
picking
blessed.
Max. That's my guy. So
Yeah, I'm going Max here too. There's no way I'm going to pick against him. I think he's going to win this fight. I think he proved in his last fight against Volkanovski, because again, I think this has been covered a lot throughout fight week. If you guys have been paying attention to the interviews, is the thought going into the last Volkanovski fight was, has Max Holloway lost a step? Has he been in the game too long at 28 years old? Is he already falling behind some of these guys? And I think he answered that question unequivocally. He has not lost a step. I think he beat Volkanovski. I think he beat Volkanovski. I will concede it's like splitting hairs. I do think it was close. Honestly, I think you can make an argument that Volk won the fight rounds 3 through 5, but I think Max did enough to win that fight, and I think he's going to prove on Saturday that he's the uncrowned champ, and he's going to get another crack at Volkanovski.
I know after the Volk fight, me and you were talking about, does he deserve a third match against him? Just because how the first two went.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted it right away, but it's not going to happen.
And I think this shows a lot about Max, just taking the next guy up. And he's not overlooking Calvin Kattar at all. And I think he would be dumb to overlook him, because Calvin Kattar has been putting guys out. I mean, he didn't put Dan Ige out, but he beat him soundly. Would you agree?
No, definitely. And like we said, he's trending on the up right now. So
he did the German
fight should give Max, I think, another shot if he wins this.
Oh, yeah.
By a good decision, at least.
Or do you think they make him fight Ortega again? Or do you think Ortega needs to do some more building up?
I think Ortega needs another fight himself. But you know what? Dang, Ortega did look good against Korean.
Hey, and the featherweight division is trending upwards. I like the way it's looking now. You probably know more than I do. What's up? And you just brought him up earlier with Calvin Kattar. Where's Zabit in all of this?
Well, I don't. What does Zabit even fight last year?
I don't think so. But I know he's highly ranked in that division.
He's up there. But let me check Zabit's record as far as last year.
Yeah, I think Max is ultimately going to get it done. I think he's been in this stage before. The other thing is it's a 5-round fight. I think that also benefits Max. He's been in multiple 5-round fights before. He knows what it is to go to the second part of your gas tank. And I think he's going to have that over Kattar. A lot of people are talking about Calvin Kattar being a better striker. I think we're going to find out that that's wrong. And I think there's levels to this game, as Ben always likes to say. And I think Max Holloway is going to prove that he's still just a notch above the rest of the division, other than Volkanovski, who they need to go at it again.
Yeah, just to fact check, Zabit has not fought since Kattar, and that was November 9th, 2019. And let's not forget, that was in Russia. So that fight, I'm telling you, that fight could have maybe scored if it's in a different place.
Dana White has said he's fighting in the next 3 months.
He has to. He has to be active.
Yep.
Legend fighting, Carlos Condit versus Matt Brown. Carlos is back on the winning side after defeating Court McGee. But before that, Condit had fought the who's who of the welterweight division, and he had lost 5 in a row before that. Matt Brown's coming off a loss. The 2 wins he had before were Ben Sanders and Diego Sanchez. But it doesn't seem like Matt Brown can beat the big names of the welterweight division. Like the Cowboy, he fought Cowboy, he lost. Anytime he fights a bigger name, he ends up losing. So I'm going to go with Condit on this one. And I think Condit's going to submit him, in fact.
I like Condit. That's a nice little call out, the submission, because isn't Matt Brown, I mean, I know he's known for his elbows, and he's pretty good on the ground as well, but I'm going Carlos Condit here. I'm going to side with you. I'm going to trust your acumen with the legends in the game, because I know Carlos Condit, he's been in it for a while, and both these guys have really, but good to see Carlos Condit get back on the winning side of things, and hopefully he makes it 2 in a row, because I know both of these guys are kind of in the twilight of their careers. So yeah, I'm going Carlos Condit.
All right. Moving on after that, we got Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Li Jianling. Santiago's back after a 7-fight win streak, but he hasn't fought since November 17th of 2018. Dude was a killer in the welterweight division. For a while there, he was being named at the top of the welterweight division over and over, week in, week out. Let me just tell you who he's beat. He's beat Court McGee, Zach Cummings, Nordin Taleb. He's beat Gunnar Nelson. He beat Mike Perry. He's beat Neil Magny. And he's done it in high fashion. I think at his best, he was top 3 as far as welterweights on the pound-for-pound welterweight list. So I'm glad to see him back. He hasn't fought since 2018. He did have, I believe, torn ACL is what had restricted him. So I'm glad to see him back, though. For me, this is no question Santiago is going to come in and beat Santiago.
Yeah, I'm going with Santiago here. You got to be a little bit worried with the ring rust, not ring rust, but octagon rust, I guess, not having been in the octagon since 2018. But I think he's the better fighter, and I don't think it's going to be close. I like to see him finish this fight.
Well, just, some MMA math, common opponent, Neil Magny. Lian Jianling just fought Neil Magny on March 2020, and Lian Jianling lost, and Santiago did put it on Neil Magny. So if MMA math holds, we'll be seeing a Santiago victory.
And if I'm right, Neil Magny won that fight pretty soundly. I mean, he got 123 strikes on him. I mean, Li Jinling only had 16 strikes in that whole fight. So I'm going with the Argentine.
Just to move on to Wednesday's card, because next week we'll be covering Connor's return. But next week, Wednesday, we got Michael Chiesa versus who we've been talking about, Neil Magny. This should be a fun fight because you got 2 guys who can do some jiu-jitsu. But I want to give the stand-up to Neil Magny on this one. What do you see this one going?
Yeah, I'm going Neil Magny. I like this fight for him. He's trending upwards in my book. His striking is really, really good. I know we don't talk about him a lot, but he is a class striker, and I think he's going to show it on Wednesday. And you said that's the main event. That's good.
Wednesday night's main event.
Spot for Neil Magny. I'm glad he's getting that main event. That's a good spot for him.
This one will be coming in on ESPN2. So just so you know, this Saturday night, ABC, for the first time, UFC has gone completely mainstream. There's no doubt about it now.
When does the main card start?
What's that?
When does the main card start?
Should be 7 o'clock start as far as probably the prelims. Main card, I'm not 100% sure. I don't have the timing here, but we'll post it up on the podcast Twitter page and Facebook page.
I know you said that we're going to get into UFC 257 more in depth next week, but we'd be remiss if we didn't, preview it a little bit. I mean, it is the return of Conor McGregor. I mean, he's fighting Dustin Poirier. It's a part 2. Yep. Dustin Poirier has improved immensely since that last fight. He's a man on a mission. He's been a man on a mission. He wants to get this fight back. He's proved that he's a prize fighter, and he's going up against the ultimate prize fighter in Conor McGregor, who seems, by all accounts and by everybody that you talk to be back on his, Conor McGregor of old, that mindset of, wanting to become a champion again. And finally wanting to fight 3 times in a year, supposedly. Are you excited for this, Justin?
Oh, dude, I'm beyond excited. Like, I'm already been thinking about this like all month, pretty much. So
for sure.
And just having that break from the end of the last UFC fight night, that was kind of a slow night, to like, hey, I know what's coming for me in January, and I'm ready to see Conor back in. Win or lose, the guy brings it, and he's exciting to watch. And not only that, but this card is going to contain Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler.
That's
I'm ready to see what Michael Chandler is going to bring, because every time I saw him in Bellator, he's been legit, and I think he will be legit. And here's a good proving ground against Dan Hooker.
It's a good litmus test for sure, because Dan Hooker, he just had a really good fight against the guy who's fighting in the main, Dustin Poirier. I mean, he ended up on the other side of that.
What a fight that was.
But it was a great fight. I know he was on Ariel Helwani's show earlier this week, and Ariel had called that second round the greatest round of the year. That's what he nominated them for. And yeah, man, that fight was fireworks. This fight against Chandler should be fireworks. I don't know who I lean because I really haven't seen Chandler fight too much, and you got to think there is a little bit of a competition jump going up to the UFC from the Bellator, but Chandler's been around, and if the talk and what everybody says is if Dana White had him as a backup, immediately for the Gaethje fight, that says something about how they respect him. So yeah, man, I'm excited to finally see Michael Chandler come and fight because I think it might have rubbed some people the wrong way, having him be the backup immediately without any real fight experience in the UFC. So
now they'll be able to see what he brings.
Yeah, and we're finally going to get some movement in that division, and we're gonna see kind of what happens with Khabib. Also, I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more next week because he's
just so there was a meeting this week between Dana and Khabib. I think that was yesterday. I'm not sure if any information of the meeting was released. Dana said it was going to be a quick meeting. He just needs a yes or a no. He's trying to push it forward. But this Poirier Conor McGregor card will give us a lot of answers. And by next week, we'll have answers as far as what's going to happen for the future of the division. Are we going to see a tournament? Are we going to just put whoever wins that fight versus somebody else for the win? We're going to see, but we need the answers, and the answers will be coming January 24th after that fight.
Hell yeah, but let's just get through this main card this weekend, hopefully intact with, Max Holloway winning. Let's get that first.
The best is blessed, and we expect to win. So, let's see. Oh, Roland. Well, that's it for we talking about sports.
Yeah,
it was a good podcast. It was awesome to have Fonz on. If Fonz wants to come in on next Thursday to recap what we said as far as NFL, he's more than welcomed. Anything you want to plug before we take off, Roland?
No, man. I don't really have any plugs this week, other than I just really just want to say. Thank you to everybody, for chiming in with the comments. Every time we do like a live podcast or something, I'd love to see the interaction as we're going. Because again, we want to talk with you guys, and that's the only reason why we do this, so we can have a forum to talk with each other and whatnot. So yeah, man, I'm glad to be back. Hopefully, be back next week so we can talk about this UFC 257. Excited to see the NFL unfold. I'm definitely looking forward to this weekend. It's a great sports weekend. You got NBA, you got NCAA basketball, you got UFC, NFL on Saturday. Saturday is going to be a great day for sports, man. So I'm looking forward to that. I have a date with my couch on Saturday. So yeah, I'm looking forward. It's a 3-day weekend. I'm off on Monday. So yeah, man, looking forward to this weekend. Definitely. How about yourself, man?
Yeah, UFC on the weekend. Then we got the playoffs. It's gonna be an awesome weekend. See what I do here. I know Ben's coming down. I know he wants to hang out, so I don't know if we'll link or not. But if we do, that'd be great. Either way, I'm looking forward to next Thursday when we get to recap all this. Finally, be all three of us back together again.
Hell yeah!
For this hiatus that we had through the New Year's.
Hell yeah, man! Glad to be back and looking forward to UFC 257 next week. And yeah, Fonz, thanks for coming on. I didn't mention that right now. Fonz, thanks for coming on. It was great having you talk NBA and UFC. I definitely had some good takes, and we're going to want you back on for next week. And enjoy the interaction. You're always commenting on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. So thanks, Fonz, and we're going to have you back on again for sure.
Richie said 3-way.
And Richie, yeah, you should come on the pod sometimes too, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, the soccer talk's ready for Richie whenever he wants.
We got the soccer talk coming up.
Champions League's coming up in February, Rich.
We got to talk about that for sure. And hey, who's on top? Before we, I know we're
right now. Baby.
Yeah, who's at the top of the table right now?
Manchester
League table. That's what I like to see. So it's a good time to talk soccer. I'm down to talk soccer next week.
Rich, I think you'd be honored, Rich. So we're gonna hold you to it in February. Champions League talk. You can hold it down for us.
All righty.
All right, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir.